We think this is a very small group, but nevertheless, I want to address this group. You are the parents who, since you were in college, haven't paid attention to how college admission scores relate to yeses and nos. So if you completed college in the 1990s or earlier, you saw scores on the SAT that were impressive if they started with a 14, okay? A 1420 back in the day likely assured you admission to an Ivy League school, okay? 1420. Why not today, where even a 1550 puts you borderline for Ivy League or same caliber, Stanford, MIT, Caltech admission? It's because, one, they rescaled in 1995. Recentering, they called it. The powers that be at the College Board were sick of seeing declining average SAT scores. What was meant to be a median of 500 on each section had dwindled significantly on verbal, somewhat on math, so that 460 to 475 became the average at suburban schools. The recentering put 500 back as average for both and ended up making an easier test, more coachable test too. And that's the second element. Back in the day, not too many people got extensively coached to do well on the SAT. Not so anymore. Almost every suburban kid has some form of coaching. Many of them, those targeting top 25 universities, are undergoing extensive coaching. That's why we're in business at Ivy Bound. There's a lot of kids who want to burnish their credentials. They know how important the SAT is. So they do get their credentials higher, and with it, average scores move up even more. Number 3, competitiveness. The number of students who want to come to these top 25 universities is at close to an all-time high. It went down a little bit after Trump became president and put a lot of kibosh on international students, and then COVID, which cut down on the ability to travel and stay. So we were at about an all-time high about 8 to 10 years ago. We're a little below that, but still way higher than in the 80s and 90s. So have colleges expanded the number of seats? Barely, okay? I went in the mid-80s to an Ivy League university where there were 1,050 places, 1050. They've expanded by all of 4%. It's still fewer than 1,100 places at my alma mater. So not many extra places, many more students from even more talented backgrounds, because back in the day, traveling back and forth from Nebraska to the Northeast involved high plane fares or long travel that kept very talented kids going to Nebraska or pretty close. And now that travel is so much less expensive, now that scholarship money is so much more abundant for kids who don't have a lot of money but do have the talent to get admitted, within domestics, there are so many more talented applicants. So 1550 is about borderline. If you want an admission to Brown, Columbia, Harvard, Yale, Dartmouth, MIT, Caltech, Stanford, borderline. Now here's the good news. That 1420 that got you in schools back in the day is still a great score for getting into tremendous colleges, which have upped their game in terms of the education that they offer and the career opportunities that come from it. So even if the college isn't that great at teaching anymore, the respect that employers have for the science or even the liberal arts major coming out of not a top 25, but a top 40 university is still really high. And so getting these $90,000 a year offers from what used to be considered a mediocre college and now It's an esteemed college, or esteemed enough to land big salaries. So it is worth pushing for and being very happy with a 1420, because you just opened yourself up to huge opportunities 5 years down the road. I'm Mark Greenstein. Thanks for listening.